Good afternoon, almost good evening. I'm sorry that I'm coming on so late, but I thought I would test it out and check to see if people really missed or wanted or waited for my daily thoughts. So I said I'll wait. Usually I do them in the morning or at latest at noon. I said I'll wait till 4 or 5, whatever, 3, 4, 5. I'll see if people miss my talks. And doing the study, I came to the realization no one cares and no one misses it. No one asked for it, no one's checking up. So I thought that maybe I should just stop doing them. But then I thought maybe I actually need it. And it's my connection to be able to, so to speak, be in contact with those that I love and care for and connect with. As I mentioned to you, the human touch is something I miss very much. And Facebook Live and Instagram or WhatsApp could never, even FaceTime could never make up for that human connection that we have. And that's something that we miss. And of course, there's a lot of people in this house, so we have that human connection with them, but I miss the rest of the people that I connect with. So this week's Torah portion, Parshas Tzav. One of the things we read about, I told you we're in the midst of reading about sacrifices, and one of the things we read about is something called the Karban Todah, which is the sacrifice that someone brought when he wanted to say thank you to the Almighty. And although we don't have sacrifices today anymore, we do have the idea of thanks throughout our entire day and entire life as Jews. Starting with the very famous but known tradition when someone benches Gomel, which is the time to say thank you to the Almighty if they went through a surgery that allowed them and they survived it, or if they traveled over oceans, or if they were in the desert, or if they were released from captivity. We say something which is called Gomel, where we thank God for being and acting benevolent and kind to us. In general, it's a very powerful thing, because not only do people thank their pilot or their doctor after a surgery, or their someone who's packaging their bags, but people recognize to thank something beyond those things that we see, something that's greater than that. You know, insurances like to use the word act of God when they want to speak about a catastrophe, something terrible that happened. But humans generally like to think of an act of God as a great miracle, something great that happened, something powerful that wasn't expected beyond the power of humans. So there's the contrast of the act of God, which is a catastrophe, to how most of us see it as the hand of God to do something great and something powerful for us. I think it was in 1990, in the 90s, was the first study done on 700 nuns that were all part of Notre Dame school, and they agreed to allow their writings and their history to be studied. They were all between the age of 75 and 102 years old. And what was unique about these people, that was in the 1930s, which was 60 years earlier, Mother Superior had asked them to write down all their thoughts about why they committed to be nuns and what made them do what they did. And the researchers had this to research, and they wanted to see the difference from the writing and the survival rate. And they found something astounding, that those who wrote gratitude and positive things in the reasons that they decided to become nuns lived on average 7 years longer than those who didn't. 7 years. Fascinating study. But as Jews, it's really part of our life and who we are. In fact, many of you know the word Yehudi, which means a Jew, comes from the word Odeh, to thank. Because as Jews, it's when Judah was born, was the fourth of Leah's children. She says, now, Hapam Odet Hashem, now I will thank God. And as Jews, the essence, the core of who we are, is to have gratitude, to be thankful. In fact, the first thing we do in the morning is we say thank you to God. We start off the day before we even wash our hands, before we get out of bed. We say, Modani lefanecha. We thank God, She'echazarta bi nishmasi, that you have given me back my soul, that I'm able to breathe. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago I spoke to you about kol neshima, about thanking God for every breath. And I saw a fascinating story going around about this guy who couldn't breathe and had problems with his breathing. And he went to the doctor who put him on an oxygen tank for a week. And after a week, he was feeling better, and his oxygen levels were better, and he was able to breathe on his own. And he asked the doctor, so what's my bill? What do I owe you? And the doctor says, well, it's $2,500, whatever the price was. And the guy starts sobbing. So the doctor sees him crying. The doctor feels bad. He thinks maybe, he wasn't able to pay for it, etc. So he says, why are you crying? Are you crying because you can't afford it? He says, no. I'm crying because I just realized I'm in my 60s. And if you're charging me $2,500 to help me breathe for a week, I could just imagine and fathom how much I owe the Almighty for every breath and every day of my life that I was able to breathe free air, fresh air, without needing a ventilator, without needing oxygen. It's hard times for people, and we're all worried, and we're all uncertain. But it's also a time when we have so much gratitude for so many people. Of course, it starts with the doctors and the nurses, the people on the front line who are risking their lives, saying thank you to them. It's thank you to the mailman who's still giving us our mail, to the sanitation department that's still picking up our garbage every week, to the government that's working to help us. But then there's even the people in our homes, our spouses, our children, how each one of us is trying to help the other. And gratitude is a key component of what makes us tick and what makes us Jewish. And I have a recommendation. In the darkest and hardest times that we're in, it's important, to verbalize our thank you, not just to know it, but to verbalize it. Because when you verbalize something, and Judaism always tells us, when you say something, it makes it real. That's why, in fact, when the Jews came to Jerusalem, and we read it in Deuteronomy, when it was the holiday of Shavuot, and they would bring a big basket of their first fruit to Jerusalem, and they would say thank you to God. And the Torah tells us that a full blessing that they would say, with many words included and details of what they would say. And Maimonides tells us that they had to actually verbalize the blessing of thank you. It wasn't enough to just bring the basket of fruit to God and say thank you. No, you had to verbalize. I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful for all the things that I have in life. And that was important because only when you verbalize it and only when you say it do you sometimes realize how lucky you are. So I think that today, with all the challenges that we all have and the struggles we're dealing with, we should make sure, to verbalize our thank yous in detail, but also maybe to write it down and to take a pen to paper and say, gratitude. I'm a Jew. Odet Hashem. I thank God. What am I thankful for? What are the things that sometimes I take for granted that today I shouldn't? And I think that if we do that, it'll make us happier people, more content. We'll realize that although we're so uncertain, our faith is in the hands of the Almighty. And we'll be thankful for the moments He gives us, for the breath He gives us, for the joy He gives us, and God willing, for the many, many more years of life that He will grant us in good health. Have a great day.